Hello and welcome. The title of this short video is Discovering Anastasia and the Ringing Cedars of Russia series of books by Vladimir Megré. So, there's a lot to tell you about these books, but I don't want to make the video too long. And I don't really want to tell you the story of the books, but I just want to give you an indication of their power and influence. The first book, Anastasia, was written around 20 years ago in Russia by a Russian writer called Vladimir Megré. And this book was self-published and became the #1 selling book in Russia. Interesting point is that there were no commercials or advertisements for this book. The book grew in popularity by in a grassroots way, in an organic way. People would read the book and then talk to their friends, and it spread by word of mouth. And then once Russia was saturated with this book, people from other countries wanted to introduce it into their countries. So they would organize translations, and again, over a period of years, the book spread internationally and is available in many different languages around the world. And I remember there's an American psychic called Edgar Cayce, a very famous psychic and healer, and I remember somebody saying that he once said that the great hope for the world would come out of Russia. And after reading the Anastasia books for myself, I would have to say I think he could be right. Personally, the series of books just blew my mind. They're absolutely amazing. They've affected me very, very deeply. And really changed my consciousness and my philosophy in a very fundamental way. The books are really interesting and a real phenomena. I think what they do more than anything, rather than give you knowledge, they scrape away all the bullshit that society has fed us since birth, so that you get to the point where you can see clearly what you already knew in the first place. The information is beautiful. It's very emotionally moving, and also deeply practical. And you can see, once you read the books, that the solution to all the world's problems isn't political, it's not religious, it's very, very simple and uncomplicated, and involves a reconnection with each other and nature in a very simple yet profound way. So these books are really changing the world, I think. And as a result, people have been inspired to start eco-communities in many countries based on the information on the book. And again, I must say that a lot of the information in the book is extremely practical. It's about how to make a sustainable garden, which has virtually no maintenance, and which can sustain the family for many generations, and how the garden can be cultivated over many generations, so that in the end the garden doesn't look like a garden, it just looks like a forest. It looks natural, and yet it is immaculately planned, and all the placement of the plants is intelligently placed, so that all the species, animals and plants interact in a way which can sustain human life with almost no maintenance. So it sounds like a gardening book, but it's much, much more. The books contain a vast amount of information about the ancient past. So it's essentially the main character of the book, Anastasia, is one of the members of an indigenous race of people that escaped the fall of history and survived deep inside the vast Siberian taiga. They have maintained their culture and their knowledge and their wisdom. They've survived all the political eras in Russian history, and they've remained intact. It's absolutely fascinating. So now, at this stage of human history, this knowledge that has been retained is coming back. And it's not just through Siberian tribes, it's also through indigenous people who live in many countries around the world. You know, the information that they have is going to help us survive and help us reconnect with nature and live sustainably on this planet. As you've probably noticed, I haven't prepared any script for this talk. That's why it's a little bit messy, but I just don't want it to sound too stale, but at the expense that it probably doesn't sound very professional. Anyway, I absolutely recommend these books. You know, they're absolutely mind-blowing and very, very amazing. What they do, I think, is they strip away all the unnecessary things that we've learned to get right back to the core, true, fundamental things which make life, human life, unique and special. They talk about kin domains, space of love, creating a space for the family, and cultivating that space in a system to provide food for a family over many generations. And there's a lot more information in these books which will just provide you with a lot of food for thought. So I think I'm rambling a bit too much here. So what I want to do is just play you a brief introduction to a talk by Leonid Sharakin. He was the person who was in charge of making sure that the English version was translated well. And the introduction is given by Duncan Rhodes. He's the editor of Nexus magazine, and he can probably articulate much better the impact that these books are having on many people, including himself. So thank you very much for watching, and I'm also just going to, before I play the introduction, I'm just going to show you the books. This is my collection of all the Ringing Cedars of Russia books by Vladimir Megré. As you can see, the covers are really beautiful, and I've read the books 2 or 3 times over the last 10 years, and I always keep coming back to them. It's like coming home in a way. So there we are. I'll do a bit of a close-up. Here we go. That's the first book, Anastasia. Second book, The Ringing Cedars of Russia. Number 3, Space of Love. Number 4, Co-Creation. Number 5, Who Are We? Number 6, The Book of Kin. Number 7, The Energy of Life. Number 8.1, The New Civilization. And 8.2, The Rights of Love. I just want to show you quickly what it's like inside the books. They have some photographs in the middle section. They have these in the English version, but unfortunately they don't have them in the Japanese version. But they have lots of illustrations. That's Vladimir Megré's trading ship. And I'll just quickly go through. This is some examples of the Russian dacha, which is the Russian garden. These are some artworks done by readers of Anastasia. She's inspired many artists to paint and writers to write and poets to write poetry. So, and all the books have amazing illustrations. And one of the most amazing things, one of the most amazing illustrations is in book 2. I'll just go through. It's got some interesting photographs of the dolmens. Let me see if I can find them. So in Russia there's some megalithic architecture known as dolmens, and the story behind them is fascinating. And since the Anastasia books, there's been a resurgence of interest by many people in the dolmens. Now this is one of the most amazing illustrations. This is created by a single ink line starting in the center of the nose and circling out in a spiral. So this picture is created by a single line, a single spiral line starting from the center. Unfortunately, I can't get too close to it because the focus won't work. But wow, I was just blown away when I saw that. And here's some examples of echo communities in Russia. And this is Vladimir Megré himself.
Now, a few years ago, about 3 years ago, I received a letter in the mail from a regular reader of Nexus, one of the readers who's been reading it since day one, like quite a few people here, I should add. And his letter was really interesting. It was to me personally, and he encouraged me, if I wished, to put it as a letter to the editor in the magazine. And his letter was basically, look, as you know, I've been reading every issue of Nexus. I've bought nearly every book that you sell through Nexus. He's got a library of something 30 or 40,000 books, covering many languages, many belief systems and philosophies. And he said, I've just read a series of books in Russian that he said made me feel like throwing all the rest of the books away, including all of the Nexus magazines. That got my attention. I mean, how dare he say throw away Nexus magazines? But so I thought to myself, well, you know, I know this guy and he's not a complete loony, and I thought, well, I've got to track down these books and see what on earth made him think these insane thoughts. So I got hold of some books in English which were hot off the press, and I read the first book, and in the second book and the third book, and several points during the books I had to sort of put them down and let them sort of filter through. But after reading the third and fourth book, I thought to myself, these are really, really important books. And I still to this day, I mean, I know that I know that I have well, there's a 4-page advert out there regularly repeating my comment that says, if you read one book in your life, read Anastasia. And I'm sure my father is mortified because he's written some really good books which I think are really important. And for his firstborn son to be saying, read someone else's book, it's more important, it must be a challenge for him. But seriously, I stand by what I say, and I know everybody is affected differently by different books, but for me, and I know for thousands of other people in Australia who I've been contacted by, they've echoed their sentiments and said, look, thank you so much for bringing these books to our attention.
So I hope you enjoyed that introduction to Leonid Sharakin by Duncan Rose. And I recommend that you, if you have a chance, watch the talk by Leonid Sharakin. It's absolutely fantastic and really funny as well. And thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, please click like, and if you want to subscribe, please subscribe. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.